在自己的主场，我就觉得如果没有一支主场队进入决赛的话，我会觉得非常对不起这个主场的优势。我觉得还是有责任、有义务去进到这个决赛。
중국에 서니까 중국이 좀 더 유리한 것이 있는 것 같아요. 근데 그거는 핑계라고 생각하고 사소한 차이는 저희가 극복할 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
因为在中国，然后刚好 S7，我们也算我们新的5个人第一次进入 S7，对我们来说意义挺大的，并且中国粉丝也特别为中国队呐喊，欢呼声更大，然后也让世界感受到中国粉丝的力量。 我们的终点不是上海，是北京。
现场的召唤师们，让我感受一下你们的热情好吗？欢迎来到上海！你现在正在收看的是2017英雄联盟全球总决赛半决赛第2天的对抗。今天在上海东方体育中心 ，WE 将会迎战3星，而获胜的队伍将会直接晋级到鸟巢最终的总决赛。开场之前，让我们所有现场的玩家给 L 票，给 WE 加油好吗？2012年，有一支叫做 WE 的战队横空出世，也让所有赛区的玩家感受到了这支队伍的魅力，记住了 L 票赛区的那抹红色。但是在过去的5年当中 ，WE 在 L 票也经历了很多的困难。在经历了保级和队伍的名字重组之后，一支全新的 Team WE 浴火重生，来到了今年2017英雄联盟全球总决赛的半决赛的舞台。今天5年一届，突破重围，一步一个脚印的他们，在经过了 LPL、季中冠军赛、洲际赛，用一个最好的状态来到了今天2017英雄联盟全球总决赛。我们在一起给 WE 加油好吗？英雄志出传奇 ，WE Keep Your Dreams。那今天我的对手也是我的搭档，也已经准备就绪了。让我们请出的就是 OGN 咆哮帝，欢迎 Kassadin。
谢谢 Random。你好，上海。 오늘 양 팀의 키워드는 동일하게 백투 글로리입니다. WE의 스토리와 비슷하게 삼성 역시 2013년, 14년 시즌에 굉장한 전선을 만들어냈습니다. 하지만 그 후 팀 로스의 전면 교체 그리고 승강전에서 생존이 목표가 될 만큼 어려운 시기를 겪었습니다. 하지만 잘 극복하고 지난해 월체에서는 준우승을 차지했습니다. 그런데 말입니다. 지난 대회 준우승이 지난 대회가 삼성 입장에서는 가장 아쉬운 대회였을 겁니다. 왜냐하면 SK텔레콤을 끝까지 몰아붙였습니다만 5세트 막판에 주저앉았기 때문입니다. 그래서 삼성이 원하는 것은 오직 한 가지, 바로 소환사컵을 서머너스컵을 들어올리는 일입니다. 바로 이곳 중국에서죠. 레전드 네버 다이. 우승 트로피를 들어올릴 때까지 삼성은 결코 질 수 없습니다. 소개합니다. Let's welcome 让我们一起欢迎삼성 갤럭시! Yes! Former World 챔피언십 삼성 갤럭시. 탑레이너 CuVee. 정규 앰비션. 미드레이너 크라운. 에이드 캐리 룰러. 서포트 코장준. 고첸섭 최우범 앤 하로. One more time. 让我们在一起欢迎三성 갤럭시。
欢迎完三星之后，接下来将要登场的就是大家等待已久的战队，让我们欢迎 WE。我相信今天在上海东方体育中心只有一个颜色，那就是红色，因为我们要恭喜 WE。上路95期。打野，Condi，中路xiye，下路Misty，辅助贝。同样欢迎教练 Homie 以及替补辅助 Xayah。让我们再一次欢迎 WE。英雄志主传奇，比赛现在开始。
Welcome back to the Shanghai Oriental Sports Center. Samsung Galaxy and Team WE about to do battle in our final semifinal to see who moves on to the Bird's Nest to take on SK Telecom T1. Hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson, joined by Martin Officio Lunga, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and Isaac Azale Cummings Bentley. We had a very intense 5-game series to see our reigning world champions move on to defend their title. Today we find out who gets to challenge them. How ready are you?
I mean, after an intro like that, you get so hyped, man. It's so fun.
I mean, I've seen some amazing intros. I have not seen the stadium introduce the players like that ever before. That was amazing.
Absolutely.
You can definitely feel it.
Alrighty, well, as the teams make the final push for the Bird's Nest, let's pull up the bracket. Today we've got Samsung Galaxy and Team WE going all out for the last spot in the final, where they'll face SKT, who was taken to Game 5 versus RNG, but the reigning champs showed their resilience and await today's winner in Beijing.
Second time this tournament here where SKT have to go all the way to Game 5 before they finally win the entire series. And it was close once again, but we just have to say, the further you get into a series, the better SKT just gets. And by the time you hit Game 5, it feels like they're in control.
And part of that is because the way that SK Telecom opened up series with the most extreme draft picks really at the beginning of the series, and then kind of whittling it down and distilling it down into what is most necessary later.
And we've also got to say, Peanut coming in off the bench, who did have an impact there, and Faker as well was incredible throughout the entire series.
But once again, they were pushed to their limits, and that's what's happened all tournament long. For Team WE and Samsung Galaxy, a finals berth spells out the chance to reclaim former glory and start a new reign of their own.
And Samsung last year made it all the way to the finals. People said they had an easy bracket. People said the real finals was SKT and Rox and that they were going to get smashed. And they took them all the way to Game 5, and they were back again with a chance to repeat the same roster in the finals, which has never been done before.
And it's always so funny when you have these teams where you have like rebuilding years, and then you actually see this roster kind of struggle at first, not have the right pieces. If we go all the way back to 2016 spring, where they ended up 7th place, coming in then to summer split, they change up a few things, and suddenly they have everything that actually works for them. So even when they made it to the World Championships, even with us kind of saying, these guys are going to be the weakest out of the 3 Korean teams, when they didn't make it all the way to the final and make it a Game 5 against SKT, you kind of realize these guys are the real deal.
Exactly. Everyone was expecting that to be a very quick finals, but the guys that are looking to step up for this team did so. Ambition, this seasoned veteran on the big stage. He brings not only his expertise swapping over from mid lane into the jungle, but also is such a huge in-game leader for them.
I mean, speaking of ambition, you talked about the finals last year was supposed to be this, one-sided matchup. The Longzhu matchup was supposed to be one-sided as the tournament favorites. And even he himself said in the opening tease, we kind of forgot that we were the runners-up at Worlds last year, and it took that 3-0 for that to remind them that that's their pedigree, and that's what they're coming into this Worlds trying to prove. They can go one step further and take SKT down.
And that's why you look at them now, and suddenly a lot of people talking about tournament favorites before they even played this semifinal against WE, because they took down Longzhu so convincingly.
And they look so different from group stages, where coming into the best of 5 with the clear game plan laid out, they were able to stick to that, and it made all the difference.
Let's move on to Team WE, because likewise, it's about rebuilding. There was former glory for this organization, and now they're looking to start a new dynasty.
I mean, this is a team that has been a long road for them. They were the best in the world many years ago. Just last year, it felt like maybe was their time. They were predicted to get to Worlds. They got knocked out by IMA.
Yeah,
didn't
this
even
happened.
make it. And now, here they are again, going through play-ins, going through groups, quarterfinals, all the way to the semis with a chance at the World Championship.
And we saw in the big intro we just had here on stage, they were calling back to World Elite from 2012 when they burst onto the scene and were basically the best team in the world for a while. One IPL 5 legendary names on that roster as well. And the fact they had to lose that lineup in 2013, had to completely rebuild from scratch, much like Samsung after Samsung White and Samsung Blue disbanded after 2014, tells a very awesome story when you then find the correct combination of players. Yes, they didn't make the Worlds last year, but they won Spring this year. And suddenly they make it to a Messiah, and now they're here again in a World semifinal.
And even though they had like a similar arc to Samsung, having to go through a rebuilding process, I feel like WE had an even more arduous journey than Samsung. It took so long for them to actually get all the pieces into place, and it's all come down to this moment.
And we narrow our focus into today then. For Team WE, if they're going to earn their spot in the Bird's Nest, it's got to be through Mystic, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, while they can play different sort of AD carry styles, different tempos, they can play Caitlyn and fast push, they can play this team fight style. It always feels like it is through Mystic. It's about having this guy succeed. It's about pouring resources into him and watching what he can do in these team fights, because he really is incredible.
I mean, even when he has a losing lane, and they have drafted some losing lanes for him, they put a lot of effort in getting him through this process so that he can pump out the same damage numbers later in the game for them and craft their team fights around this AD carry.
And obviously he's not alone. It's not just Mystic, against the world. When WE plays, there's a lot of members around him. I think 957 up in the top lane had a great series against C9. Xiye in the mid lane is important to add support towards the bottom side. And then Condi, of course, in the jungle is still a massive star player on this team. And he needs the supporting cast around him, Mystic that is, in order for him to win games.
And people talk about the strategies that WE use and say that, they're very one note and they're easily predictable because they build so much around the AD carry role, but the supporting parts are incredibly important. And it's not just protect, Janna and Sorakas and stuff like that. The front line and the offensive capabilities of the crowd control in setting him up for kills as well are incredibly important.
And that's why I think the draft is so crucial in this series, because we know what style WE wants to run. So does Samsung, but they're so damn good at it that it's very difficult to stop, and you have to pick and choose which areas do you target? Do you target that front line? Do you target the supporting cast like the Gallios? Or do you go for those AD carries because he can play them all?
Well, if we've identified draft as being crucial to success for Team WE, that feels perfect for a team like Samsung Galaxy. They flexed their drafting muscles just last week in the quarterfinals against Longzhu.
Yeah, we saw a lot of new and awesome picks come in from the Lissandra against Taliyah was great. The Kennen top lane against the Jack was fantastic. And the fact that we get a Samsung team who has time to prepare makes them so scary, because they are flexible in the way they're playing. It's not just, we need our AD carry to be fed and we can win. They have a carry top laner that can play around. They have a mid laner who can actually draft things like Malzahar and Lissandra, and you get engaged from the mid lane to force fights.
Exactly, because draft is only one part. You can be flexible and say, theoretically, I should go for this in the draft phase. To also have the ability to execute those different styles in-game is the real key.
Well, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do think that's a big advantage for them, especially when you're looking at someone like CuVee, because he can really play both the tanks and the carries, and it's not just a fallback pattern for Samsung. They can execute carry strategy, they can execute team fighting with Maokai, and they really can do it all.
And if we're talking about execution, we have to talk about ambition. A very stark difference in his play from group stages to the quarterfinals in terms of, bringing success to the team.
Yeah, ambition, he picked Sejuani a lot in the group stages as well, but there were some decisions where he was making where oftentimes if you're on one of these tank junglers and you get invaded a lot, you start to get frustrated, and he went for a little bit too much, reaching back into the enemy jungle to try and get a camp back because he's been taken advantage so much, because he's been punished, and he was punished. They lost those 2 games to RNG, who WE have been practicing against this entire time, but they brought it completely back around versus Longzhu, and the best of 5, as we said, with the preparation was such a different story.
And again, ambition, the fact he's so smart as well. When he's playing a good game, you can just see the entire team play so controlled. They know exactly what to do. There's no flash in the mid lane, gank the mid lane. No, top lane, we can dive him, go top lane, dive him. And they do just, as the second you think, what is the optimal play here? Well, let's go to that lane and kill that guy, and Ambition is on his way to do that. So when he's on form...
Wow, they're perfect, huh, Division?
It's almost
play every time.
It's Samsung win world.
That's what it's starting to sound like.
I mean, I was very impressed with that quarterfinal, where I felt like they pulled off the optimal play almost every single time.
You gotta be impressed by the quarterfinal. Coming into that quarterfinal, we're talking about the tournament favorites in Longzhu, and then they get 3-0'd, right? I mean, compare that to the rest of the quarterfinals, and that looks like the most dominant series out of Samsung Galaxy. Time to go on record, though. Which team do you think will meet SKT in the Bird's Nest down the line?
So I'm going Samsung. I'm saying 3-1 to Samsung here. I think they will have so much time to prepare for WE's playstyle. I think they will 100% understand, okay, how does WE play around the bottom side? How do you defend against it? And how do you attack the other side? Because when they're investing on the bottom side, you can go top lane and kill 957. You can neutralize Condi so he doesn't have an impact in the jungle. And I think Samsung will be able to do that. I do see them drop a game. There will be a full late game team fight that goes in W's favor, or one game where Mystic gets fed in the early game and takes over.
But it's all about the preparation for Samsung Galaxy. Kobe, what are you thinking?
I also think that Samsung are favored to take this series, but I think it is a bit closer than that. And I would say it's more like a 3-2 for Samsung, because I don't think you can take advantage of 957 that easily. I think he's a very intelligent player, especially with playing with the team and the teleport timings that do come in. Plus, Condi is definitely well equipped to punish Ambition if he does, happen to lapse back into the over-aggressive tendency, when he's behind and doesn't work with his lanes as well early on in the game. So I think the opportunities there are, possible for W to punish that, but I still think that Samsung are going to be able to take this series.
And mentality is always a day-to-day thing. Xayah closes out.
Definitely in Samsung as well. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I feel like in the C9 WE series, we saw a lot of WE's weakness. We showed, with good drafting, with good preparation, C9 almost was able to take them down. And I think that Samsung can execute where C9 could not. And I feel that they're equal to the task as far as preparation goes, as they showed against Longzhu.
All right, we're looking at a Korean versus Korean finals here. As we send it over to Quick Shot, Papa Smithy and Jat Ambition took a moment to give us his thoughts on his opponent today.
WE 팀을 보면서 좀 저희 팀원들이 하는 얘기는 그냥 좀 한국 팀처럼 한다, 좀 그런 느낌이었어요. 좀 중국 팀이 좀 되게 저돌적이고 그냥 싸움 좋아하고 좀 그런 이미지가 강한데 W 보면 되게 안정적으로 하고 좀 메타를 잘 이해하는 것 같고 좀 한국 팀이 게임하는 것 같다 좀 그런 느낌을 많이 받았거든요. 그래서 어떻게 보면 저희한테 더 익숙할 수도 있을 것 같은데 오히려 좀 실력은 미지수인 것 같아요. 그래서 좀 무서운 부분도 있고 그렇습니다.
Very excited to see that skill matchup and whether or not Samsung will close out as confidently as our analysts have predicted. Hello, everybody. I'm Trevor Quickshow Henry, joined here at the desk by Joshua Jatley's and, of course, Chris Papa Smithy Smith. Gentlemen, another day, another Korea-China matchup. The crowd very much behind Team WE. It's their last LPL hope, Jats.
Yeah, and we saw yesterday how close that series was between SKT and RNG. And even though Samsung did look incredibly dominant in the quarterfinal, the group stage was another story, as whenever you would ask someone which Korean team they'd like to play against, it was Samsung back then. So we've seen so much week-to-week change between so many of the different teams here at the World Championship. I just can't wait to see what these two teams have in store.
And Team WE have been this enigma where largely they have played the protect the Mystic, protect the AD carry style. And yet, think back to MSI, think back to week 2 of this tournament. There have been times where they've rolled the dice and played a faster game. I don't know if we know exactly how W will play out this series, but if it's quarterfinals form, it's going to be slow and scaled.
And we already have a different series with a Galio ban. No 5x Galio today for Crown.
Janna also, big pick for specifically Ben. 12-0 on the year, so undefeated on the year on the Janna. Played it 9 times at Worlds, so kind of insane he's got it so much.
Exactly. We were saying we would be shocked if Samsung didn't ban Janna on red side, as that would be an automatic first pick above. Probably only Kalista would have preempted a Janna first pick as far as WE's priorities.
So what does become first pick worthy? Gragas still available, Jarvan up, Tristana are the sort of power picks that are screaming to my mind, and there's Mystic's Kog'Maw banned away.
I feel like it is Jarvan based on the Sejuani bans, but you can also match it with the Gragas later. It's going to be very interesting to see where Team WE's priorities lie.
And that's because it's Jarvan versus Gragas. You don't have to grab, and Rakan has to be denied because Xayah also available. They're on the Rakan side of the coin for WE.
That's the big thing actually right here, is red side would and could Xayah Rakan right there, which is actually why a lot of people have been asking me, you know, why do we see Xayah banned so much over something like Tristana, which, by the way, is still not banned? It's because you want to block the combo and you don't want to be forced into picking the other one. So right now, if Samsung does pick Tristana, that means Xayah can go over on the other side, which forces Samsung into Xayah and therefore can grant Team WE Trist.
Now, do we like the little bit of the shenanigans? It's going to be a swap away. Now, Ruler undefeated on Tristana at Worlds. He's currently 4-0, only conceded 3 deaths, has locked it in. Ben on the other side, 1-0-12 on his single and only Rakan performance. Mystic, does he take the Xayah and go for that power combo?
Mystic, everyone was talking about his Kog'Maw during the quarterfinal. Xayah was his most played champion in the summer split. And very rarely do you actually get it with Rakan. It is usually blocked, but based on the priority of Tristana, specifically for Ruler, he was playing Trist in the anime opening we had before here. It is a signature pick.
And I don't want to necessarily throw any shade at the Xayah from Ruler that was overlooked here. Is actually 4-0, 21 KDA on the pick this year. He was a late bloomer on the Xayah, came to a lot of the AD carries a bit later in the LCK. So you notice what they do have, which is a BF Sword AD carry in Tristana that can rotate, that can increase the pace of the game early and potentially allow them to get a sort of similar style of when they got in game 2 and 3 of the quarterfinal. They give up a lot doing that, but they do have the Tristana who can be a weapon in that way.
Yeah, and you almost always want to lock that with Taric, not only for the Ardent Sense usage, but also because Taric J4 is a very good controlled initiation combo. But I feel like against the Xayah Rakan, the early shove absolutely goes over there with the bonuses that that duo get.
I completely agree, but to me, Taric is a better pick for Samsung Galaxy than almost any other team in the world, because you think about what they were playing Taric with, specifically in the quarterfinal. This team is known for multiple engage options along their team. High CC comps. They were the first team to play Sejuani Braum, and Ambition brought back the Sejuani into the jungle role. If you have boundless initiation, Taric can really be the icing on the cake. The timing of the ultimate is so clean when you're winning, when you have engage on the Cosmic Radiance. I think they'll add more CC as the draft goes on.
Well, let's find out, because we're into phase 2 bans. A lot of CC removed from the top lane. Cho'Gath as well as the Jace now banned by Samsung Galaxy towards 957. Orianna, 1 ban left for Team WE. Some of those tanks are still available if they want to go that route.
And if you're looking at the mid lane though, Trevor. There is also the Taliyah that's been a big pick for Crown as recently as that quarterfinal. Both these mid laners have played it recently. It won't be banned, so heavy emphasis on denying some of these carry top laners who straddle the line, like the Cho'Gath and Na particularly, and the true carry and Jace. To me, this is WE just trying to provide coverage for 957. They just want him on a team fighting tank.
Yeah, and if they do lock in Taliyah, I think it puts a lot of pressure on Team WE to try and match some type of that global presence. Do they now have to blind pick the Shen into whatever type of carry pick CuVee could want to play, or if he just wants to take Jarvan up there? So I really do like the Taliyah pick there with the Orianna ban to speak towards Crown's ability to play the map.
And especially if it's the essence of the quarterfinal Samsung Galaxy, you almost pencil in Shen if it's left available. They have a guaranteed pushing lane in mid that would allow there to be enough map pressure to run the Shen, but Shen is also a big pick for 957. It'll be taken here, and now your mind goes to what Samsung will answer in the top lane. It could still be a Jarvan. We could be hiding the jungle pick for Ambition, but I think maybe something like the Kled, bringing back an old pick, is an outside possibility in this scenario.
Yeah, but first things first, it's what xiye is going to pick in the mid lane. I would like to see something like Corki in this scenario in order to have even more match of the Taliyah. It's something that can shove in, keep wave pressure, and it's something xiye has been good on, but they might have something else planned here.
What do you think of the Kassadin locked in? Game 1 of the semi-final here.
Very good pick into Taliyah after 6, but we'll need some babying before 6 through Condi. You'll have to make some of these missions through the mid lane, particularly in that regard. Looking at CuVee's pick, right now he's considering the Kennen, won on it previously, actually going to be taking it this game as well.
Oh man, so right now I see so much early push from the Samsung team that Team WE is going to have to get rid of. Shen Kassadin is a lethal combo if they get ahead because of how they can split push and collapse on you, but their wave clear is abysmal when compared to the Kennen and Taliyah in the solo lanes.
And we asked for more engage on the Samsung side. They delivered. The Kennen still a prime teleport flank initiator on their side. So shoving lanes, engage, the Taric to also be that team fight win condition. They've got a lot going on here on the Samsung Galaxy side.
And what Team WE has going for them is that bottom lane. They've comboed Xayah with Rakan. Mystic is the main guy who brought them here. They prioritize that in the draft, and they're going up against a giant initiation team in Samsung, and are going to have to do a lot to weather that storm.
Oh, the early laning phase going to be so pivotal and important. Let's see whether or not Condi or Ambition can get into the faces of their respective opponents. You can see the coaches on stage, of course, as Team WE and Samsung Galaxy are now going to set sights on one another for the first time here in this final semi-final. Jump onto Twitter. You guys know how to vote. Hashtag WeWin or hashtag SSGWin. The unenviable task of facing SK Telecom in the finals is what's at stake here, gentlemen. And I know where the crowd is cheering behind the last LPL representative.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be very difficult for particularly xiye this game on that Kassadin that he has picked into the Taliyah. Not necessarily because of a lane matchup post-6, but because of a team fight matchup in the later game against the Kennen, J4, Taliyah, Taric. So much CC to try and lock him down.
The headaches certainly never end on the side of Samsung Galaxy when it comes to all those engage options. Really only the Rakan for engage on WE's side. To me, on a macro sense, before the action really gets going, big way for WE to win this game is relentlessly gank the Kennen. If both Kassadin and Kassadin and Shen can enter the Kennen lane, that's the way they can win with the 1-3-1.
All right, we'll keep an eye on how well that can get set up.
Yep.
Papa Smithy will be a little bit of time before that can happen. Double teleports on the side of Team WE. Important to keep note of. Ben, by the way, running the Ignite in that bottom lane, trying to take advantage of that Xayah Rakan power. And after Team WE group is 5, placed the wards, it is somewhat mirrored, but not quite as deep by Samsung Galaxy.
And I want to discuss what has been done here at the level 1, because all the wards from WE are placed in the top side. So their safe place to go for the starting camp is where they have vision, is the top side. WE want to play top side because that doesn't allow CuVee on the Kennen to overextend in the Shen lane. If the top side is controlled, that allows them to really try and shut down the counter matchup.
This feels like a bait. xiye and Mystic are available. Body slam goes forward. The explosive charge pops. Condi runs for his life. Now Ambition is burning. But somebody heal forced to be used. First blood picked up by Mystic.
And you have to question what Samsung was thinking there, camping 4 people in the jungle with CuVee set up top side. Yeah, the map was split in their favor down bottom side, and they really didn't expect 957 to be there, but that is a huge play for Team WE.
The word you use is expect, and with preparation, with how you scrim, you do not normally see a re-invade against a Taliyah team, against a pretty good level 1 team. They were caught off guard, because in Korea you'd expect people to play to where they'd place the vision at level 1. WE re-invade, and they get the maximum from it.
Unbelievable, and it lands in Mystic's hands as well. Now, he's not gone back-to-back to spend any of that additional advantage and is flashless for now. But what a great start for Team WE and a great confidence builder as they open up the series against Samsung Galaxy. And now we're going to settle into the normal lanes, everything as expected.
Yeah, and until the first base for Mystic, that gank doesn't actually mean that much. You can see Ambition has taken red buff, Condi is maybe a little bit ahead of him in the jungle, but the starting items are exactly the same. What actually happened by 957 being late to lane is he lost out even a little bit more than you may have thought against that call Kennen. So there will still be the potential for 2 out of 3 shoving lanes for Samsung and Ambition to make some engaged plays. With no flash, that definitely hurts him a little bit, but until the chop happens, Samsung still have pushing lanes.
The best news story is that at least Ambition's timings when it comes to gank timings, when it comes to being there for a counter gank, if the first gank is made for Condi, are likely to be delayed slightly because he had to get to the jungle a little bit later. There is that small window, but Condi has a level 3 advantage or might have the positioning advantage on the map.
All right, where is he at the moment? Still currently a little bit of an invade on this top half of the map. We mentioned, or during picks and bans, we mentioned that Condi could trend towards xiye's lane, just cover and help him out until he gets that level 6 and access to Riftwalk. We've seen Xayah and Rakan twice here at Worlds. It's 2-0 up until this stage of the tournament. And the lane's definitely pushing as expected. I think Mystic and Ben trying to deal with some of this early push that Rula and CoreJJ had set up. It hasn't quite yet maybe normalized, if that's the right word.
Yeah, so let's talk about this right now. I think the starting items do speak fairly largely to how Samsung is wanting to play this lane. They've gone heal barrier, which is very defensive, and then on top of that, they've actually gone for the relic shield on the Taric as well, rather than going for an ancient coin opener. So the gold generation will be lower for Taric, but it does make them so much tankier for these little fights.
Oh, the knockup connects onto Rula. Barrier and flash is still available to him. That's the rocket jump away. CoreJJ now running for his life. Ben and Mystic continue to pressure Samsung away, but they end up winning the 2v2.
Looked like Rula took more auto attacks than he needed to in that trade. Hard to say just out the corner of your eye, but regardless, very nice trade there. Level 3 is when Xayah and Rakan really come online, when they have access to all their abilities. That means they're in a comfortable spot, even with the Doran's shield regen starting for Rula.
Try to buy as much time as they possibly can. Condi had already pushed into that top half of the jungle where you can see Ambition. He just showed his face and is now full back to try and clear as many camps as he can. On the first teleport for xiye, just get him back into lane. He's got the blasting wand after his first back. The damage start. We'll see whether or not he can accelerate this Kassadin, because of course for Team WE, staying ahead in the early game, setting up that 1-3-1, not allowing themselves to get engaged on by this heavy engaged comp that Samsung have put together, is going to be so vital to allow the Shen and Kassadin to do work.
Absolutely, and I think the blasting wand's a pretty aggressive move for him right there. No defensive stats, gets blown into Crown. This is trouble.
It is indeed. The force pulse, I think, was missed. Flashes away from the flag and drag. Now Crown is in trouble. Body slam comes down. Teleport was started by 957 first and cancelled. In fact, does not leave base. CuVee also channeled his.
That's big. CuVee was actually already in lane, had run back with the... Actually stayed in lane, hasn't backed yet. So 957 will have to walk back. CuVee will get a better back timing. No other big advantages there. Getting xiye's flash as a trade for crowns. It's decent at level 5, but from level 6 Riftwalk means the Kassadin will be inherently safe.
Yeah, I think that turned out fairly well for Team WE. I can understand why Samsung would go for a gank. I think it was pretty well played by both sides, with the teleports both being canceled right at the last second.
I didn't quite see if the rocket jump was interrupted or not, but Ben seems to be finding a lot of knockups on that grand entrance onto Rula. And let's see how this continues to play out. I was going to quickly draw their attention to Ambition. We talked about how important and pivotal he can be. At the moment, obviously, a little bit of a deficit from that early shenanigans going awry, but such a stark contrast in performance.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in group stage, some people were calling him a first blood magnet. He gave it up 3 times into 5 games that he played and never got a killer assist. But it was a completely different story in the quarterfinals. Gives up first blood once again in this game, and you wonder if he's going to be able to bounce back.
The thing I took away from those stats, though, is that his jungle proc proximity from groups to quarters went up 4%, not a massive amount, less than 10%. His gank involvement or his kill and assist involvement in the first 15 minutes went from 0% to 86. So it's not like he spent more time ganking, it's just he was much more on point with his timings, and the rewards were clear for everyone to see.
And I do think it's going to be fairly difficult for him to find an advantageous gank in this situation where he's up against a Shen with Stand United when both top laners have traded teleport into the exchange gank mid. So wherever Ambition goes, it needs to be an incredible orchestrated gank, and probably needs Crown ulting in as well if they want to match numbers.
Yeah, my read this game is maybe gank itself is not what Ambition's best use is. We already said they have pushing lanes in 2 spots, getting more objectives, setting up the extra objectives rather than actually adding kills and assists. Basically being the icing on top of the cake that is pushing lanes is more going to be his focus.
All right, let's see how that plays out. Body slam comes forward from Condi. That at least gets the flash from Crown. A big threatening move.
Really like that play out of Condi right there. And I actually like the heal out of Crown as well, because that most likely gave him the move speed to get out of range of the body slam flash combo. So a good bluff there by Condi, getting a summoner spell for nothing.
Coming back to the draft though, extending the laning phase, stopping them from being fast push is really important. The side of WE doing it so far is trading down bot.
A lot of damage back and forth. The barrel gets out onto CoreJJ, forces the flash. It looked like Ben changed a little bit of target priority there, dashing onto CoreJJ instead of Rula, catching CoreJJ a little unawares. Team WE still ahead. By the way, first backs, fairly aggressive as well in the bottom lane. Mystic got BF Sword and Cull with that bonus first blood gold. That's just going to accelerate him to that sort of Essence Reaver first item spike.
Yeah, the build from Xayah is always a little strange, because I feel like while champions like Tristana spike on IE plus Shiv, Xayah needs the third item as well, Essence Reaver plus Zeal item plus IE, so the Cull is trying to speed him up to that moment since he's going to be weaker anyway. They're really just trying to attack this bottom lane before CoreJJ gets level 6.
Stand United's available for 957, and CuVee, by the way, does have his teleport up. Not enough minions to work with, so Team WE forced to back away. They don't get the tower, they get a lot of damage down. And Samsung maintain some line of defense, but this is how we expected that 2v2 to play out, with Mystic and Ben really shoving Rule and CoreJJ in the whole time.
Yeah, and Samsung did split the map a little bit on the other side, which allowed Team WE to make that aggressive posture play deep. You can notice the ward on Team WE's blue buff, and now it's kind of a matter of greed from Team WE, and how much do they want to push the envelope on this turret. It's low, but the teleport is back up from CuVee. You have Crown, who's level 8. The collapse is a very real threat if they continue to try and finish off this turret.
Right now for Samsung, the pushing lanes haven't led to anything. All the attention's been bot side, but the Xayah and Rakan Lovers duo have been able to do a lot of work, and the Kassadin and Shen are getting through laning phase a lot more comfortably than you might expect. Sure, a 20 CS-ish advantage top side, but we actually have Kassadin winning in CS in the mid lane, and Crown has no blue buff, so he's even controlling the lane pretty well.
Oh, the Blade Caller locks down Rula. He puts down the satchel charge in reply, still holding on to flash and buster shot. Really, really playing defensive with those summoners. Barrier was secured though.
Yeah.
There's just so much action this game, trading non-stop in the lanes.
And that was barrier for not much, and Ambition actually walks directly through the Scuttle Crab, intentionally most likely, just to get them off of Ruler. Ruler wants to be able to farm, get this wave off, and probably force another recall cycle before that turret would just fall from pressure.
And that's the key point. If he doesn't enter lane, Ruler leaves first, the turret goes down. So he just needs to be the person to actually get the preferential back timing, and Ben's even going to pull them in.
Yeah, and that's one of those ganks from Ambition that are going to hurt his stats, because he's going to up the jungle proximity now. He was near his bottom lane, but it's really the correct play to do at that moment, because it ends up saving the turret.
So a little bit of pressure relief then from Ambition, keeps Ruler, CoreJJ alive as well as their tower. There's not a lot of pressure relief for 957. He continually is being hammered in by CuVee. CuVee's up around 20 CS at this stage.
They're going to get the turret anyway.
All right, Tower's going to force a Ben and Mystic. Do they now back and pull off some sort of swap, alleviate the pressure for 957? Is it a possibility?
Well, this is actually huge for them, because they can back, and I need to double check to see if they have enough gold to get Ardent Sensor, because if they can get the Ardent Sensor, that's substantially before CoreJJ, and they can essentially keep that turret lead alive.
Yeah, crashing bot lane turret first is massive for WE, because what did we say? Shen, Kassadin, not great wave clear. If you can send your duo lane there, start pushing in with those lanes, start actually opening up the turrets, getting a turret lead with these double globals, triple globals, including the Shen. That Ardent Sensor is big, and right now, Actually, they're going to return to bot lane, so for now, not looking to crash other turrets.
Yeah, you can see the priority he puts on it, though. No control ward, no Nomad's medallion. He waits an extra 15 seconds, but it's worth it because now any trade they take, as long as they don't get all in, they will sustain back up. This is the strongest point in the game with which to build that item.
All right, Essence Reaver completed, Rod of Ages completed, Ardent Center completed, and a Stand United. If ever there were invites to party in the bottom lane, teleport and xiye's Kassadin as well. Condi's even making his way down. This is, the options are there if Rule and CoreJJ stick around. Now they've got no tower to fall back to, so it's going to be risky if they chase it up. Instead, xiye's going to go for a nice cheeky roam up top.
He's got an angle on him, but he walked right through a wall.
Waiting for the flash and just so easily secured. 957 gets the credit.
He was standing on a control wall, but there was nowhere for CuVee to go. This Kennen is very squishy in the straight-up matchup, sure, but right now, all expectation there would be that bot lane party, Trevor.
Yeah.
The RSVPs didn't go out, turned up it was a top lane gank, and it was lethal.
And that's the second time in this game where Team WE, I feel like, has defied the expectation of what Samsung thought. They thought Kassadin was going to go bottom lane to try and start that party, but he goes top lane. The other one was the early jungle. And CuVee doesn't want to flash over the wall because xiye's waiting for him. Then they just managed to chain their kill right at the end.
I mean, the timings were beautiful. Started with the Shadow Dash just as the Rift walked over into the control ward vision was there, and CuVee already knew his demise was imminent. So map pressure, map presence for WE, despite having the lanes that are naturally going to be pushed in, is higher than that for Samsung. And a lot of Samsung's early game power we talked about in draft has largely been negated by the playstyle of WE.
Well, the early game power that was on Team WE that unlocked it, Mystic is now roamed to mid with the support of Ben and xiye waiting in the wings. If we can take a look at some of his stats between groups and quarters, also how the team has played around him.
I mean, you see the difference in CST and you think, okay, Mystic must have had a poor quarterfinals, but it was about matchups. They played Kog'Maw 4 times in that series, and they even won the last 2 games, won 2-2 overall. They weren't picking the Caitlyn pushing lanes, Caitlyn Janna, which was their standby in the second week of groups, and that just means your CST numbers are bound to go down.
Team still rallies behind him, they get his items, and then they fight and win. That was sort of the Team WE mantra. Wait for that Kog'Maw to become online, and then find all of the fights necessary. Let's see whether or not Team WE can do the same. Because of the fact they moved and chipped away mid-tower, it's almost donated this bottom outer turret to Samsung Galaxy. No real move to defend. However, you can see the duo lane moving up to the top. So what else can Team WE take away?
Well, right now, by giving up bottom, they're trying to take top and then probably control the Rift Herald. Where this play gets interesting is what happens after these turrets are traded and how the pace of the game reacts to it. Cloud Drake is up, second tier turret is also diveable with the Taric, Taliyah, Kennen.
Actually suits Samsung as well because it means their duo lane isn't exposed to that ardent sense of disadvantage they would have been in. Still no shot from CoreJJ. They're grouping as 4. They're looking for that second turret.
I think Samsung should actually be very happy with this outcome right now. The fact that they're able to get the gold on Tristana, and it's just a matter of what they're trying to pull off after the fact.
CuVee's looking for the 1v1 with 957. Going to be coming in. Stand United. Featherstorm buys enough time. The root holds CuVee in place. 957 saves Mystic's life. xiye completes the teleport. Rift walks forward. And 957 gets the third of the game for WE.
It was a bait by Mystic right there. CuVee nearly had the burst, but he got so much out of Team WE. CuVee probably didn't expect them to use so much on it, but they did, and they get the kill.
He's kind of in Hoonie duty in this particular game where he's trying to create map pressure, knows he's likely to be outnumbered with the nature of Shen and the TP Kassadin, accepts that the team is going to pick up a Drake and answer. When it comes to laning matchup, he has a CS lead, but nothing else to show for it.
Gentlemen, it's just past 15 minutes, and it's a 2,500 gold lead for the team with Shen and Kassadin on their sides, and there's towers exposed. Let's see how the shenanigans break out with the Rift Herald as Samsung Galaxy looking to at least contest. Slicing Maelstrom's on cooldown though.
And Samsung still have a very strong team fight. Let's not undercut the amount of base damage that Taliyah brings and the power of the initiation combo of a J4 with a Taric ultimate plus an AP Kennen flying in there. So Samsung can still be of the mind that it just takes one really good fight to get completely back into this game.
Ironically, I think the biggest power for WE, despite the fact that they can certainly team fight, is in the 1-3-1. if both Kassadin and Shen can deal it. We'll hold the point.
Well, flash quickness into the knockup. Crown is going to survive just long enough to get away. The Ignite ticks down. Ripple closes it out as xiye dashes forward. Team WE have a 4-man stack in the mid lane, and now they're setting aside to the tower.
And they want to keep pushing the tempo. They're using so many of their flashes and teleports aggressively and getting exactly what they want out of them.
They're turning it into a pick comp basically on the side of W, not necessarily something you would say when you saw the draft. It's working so far, but it's about the objectives after the kill. Getting a much safer Rift Herald with Crown dead and unable to rejoin even with Weaver's Wall available. They won't take the mid lane turret, but WE purely control the pace of this game.
Well, I think this absolutely is a 1-3-1 team composition that relies on the picks. That's what they're able to generate right here as Crown is in mid with both summoner spells, has ambition right there, so he feels pretty safe. But then xiye burst so much damage. This was a 2-man gank that was able to kill Crown.
He goes down here, the Rift Herald, no doubt taken, is confirmed, picked up by Condi as well. Splitting the map is going to be so powerful for W, and they have backup teamfight options, and for now, all Samsung can do is push back minion waves, but actually grow any leads.
All right, now CuVee is going to be under further pressure. Rift walks up for xiye, slicing Maelstrom will buy some time. It's 1,000 hit points to burn through. CuVee is going to try to turn it around. They're hitting away on xiye. xiye clears out the wave, and this venue erupts as xiye survives.
That's one of those plays that can swing the momentum of a game, and it again goes over to Team WE. The flash at the very end by both of them, the near minion kill, and the execute right down the stretch.
Yeah, the biggest commiserations to CuVee, who played that perfectly, but he was 0-2 at the time, already 1-0-3. The Kassadin behind in items means that the outplay doesn't count for anything. We're going to see the replay here. xiye comes in. I thought CuVee was going to be done. I thought already we had the point where Kassadin and Shen could easily 1v1 CuVee, but then he turns it around.
The magic damage shield from the Q that helps out a little.
And watching that play, CuVee landed absolutely every spell and the stun, but the lead was just too large by xiye. So credit to xiye for taking the fight with his advantage, but man, was that close.
All right, Condi goes for the invade, and the smite fight also wins that one out. Rift Herald still in the back pocket and available. Team WE, as we're getting close to 20 minutes, they're hitting 2 items almost across the board and looking for yet another tower.
Yeah, and they are having one of those games where every play they are making is working, so that only infuses them with more confidence based on the lead, and they got to keep this tempo up while they have the lead.
All right, gonna catch out onto Ambition. He gets the dunk down from the Cataclysm. Cosmic Radiance buys some time, but the blades gonna continue firing out. Ambition's able to run away with his life. Keep holding my breath, expecting, anticipating further follow-up. The Team W will be happy with the tower.
And they used so little on that fight. They got the Taric and the J4 out. They didn't use any summoner spells. It was just a Jarvan ultimate, and they already had the cast and split pushing. Now they pop down the Rift Herald. They're going for it all.
They feel confident enough to use it very late.
They had the storm used by Mystic to stay alive there. 957 and the Stand United help xiye get yet another kill onto CuVee. That 0-4 is so unfortunate. Not a telling tale of this mid-game when WE have played and punished him in such a beautiful way. And Team WE on the bottom tower.
In every position on the map, WE are ahead. They're looking for more.
Oh, they are indeed. Ambition's the next target. Taunt comes in from 957. 2-man knockup from the grand entrance of Ben. Team WE in and out, continuing to press this lead. It's a 6,000 gold advantage. This tower's going to fall as well.
Yeah, Condi as well, consistently pressuring Samsung away from the aggressive zone, building the full tank support version of the Gragas. 6,600 gold, 20 minutes in.
I think every analyst came into this series wondering how good is Team WE, but they were also at the back of their head probably saying, how good was Samsung? We came in with 3 long-shoot predictions in the quarters. It ended up being a Samsung 3-0. Seeing a replay here of, once again, a snowboard Kassadin and Shen coming in, piggyback right there. And now we come to this series, and WE had a pretty narrow win condition, at least for the early game. Play around the Xayah and Rakan lane. They unlocked that lane, got the first turret, and everything from there has been picture perfect.
And they have been attacking CuVee, which is technically the vulnerability when you pick one of these off-meta carry top laners. They cannot absorb gank pressure the same way that a lot of the tank picks can. And xiye and 957 have been basically duo queuing and ganking CuVee over and over again, who hasn't been able to get any help, thanks to what Mystic and Ben have been pressuring and demanding out of Ambition bot side.
That's the kind of thing is straight up Mystic and Ben are winning bot side and WE are taking down the top side. Then you have to have question marks about Ambition. The fact that Crown has been corralled in the mid lane also hasn't been able to roam at all. Samsung have basically watched WE play close to the perfect game. They may have a turret, but everything else has been ideal for Team WE.
Well, Team WE going to set their sights on Baron, and in terms of all teams at Worlds, they've got some of the best Baron control. They've secured themselves 13, only conceded 4 all tournament long. And when you consider they've played 18 games, the World Championships, those are some impressive statistics, pushing the Vision into Samsung's territory, and it can fall backwards. Body slam used to catch out Ambition. Flag and drag gonna get him to safety. Blasco buys some time, but look at 957. Flashes over the wall and confidently gets another.
And the dilemma of playing Taric J4 from behind. The Taric ultimate is too slow. You can't use it for the initiation because you don't have the damage to burst them. Team WE is having their dream game 1 right now.
Insane how far ahead they are. They'll just happily switch off onto the Baron. They know Ambition is dead. Samsung can't face it. They've been picked so many times. 7 deaths from picks. No team fights at all in this game, and this should be icing on the cake for the game 1 WE.
8,000 gold lead before Baron. And extend that to just shy of 10. 3 items going to be across the board, and Baron. I mean, now it should be trivial. Now it should be knocking over the Nexus and figuring out how good is this Team WE.
Yeah, with that being said, the Shen Kassadin aren't exactly great sieging champions, so they still have to execute some of these dives. But watching this one more time, you can see the type of confidence they're playing with. Mystic is just chilling in the red buff pit and daring Samsung to fight him. Samsung's not willing to. Ambition had flash this whole time, wasn't willing to burn his flash early because they're trying to save as many tools as possible to try and get the engage, but it's one of those things that is just never happening for Samsung this game.
And it's also how the victory has happened from WE. Again, you just think back to the analyst desk. How will they get their win or their 2 wins, depending on the prediction? The late game team fighting prowess of Mystic specifically and playing around a Fed 80 carry. They have a Fed 80 carry, but not even anywhere near the 4-0 Shen, the Kassadin that's been involved. It's been a team performance. It's been defying a lot of our recent expectations about WE, and it's been oh so clear.
Talking about team performance and expectations, I mean, the picks and bans from Team WE seem to work in their favor to an extent. The Xayah Rakan as well as the Kassadin and the Shen getting some comfort picks. But then you look at the playstyle and the prep, they read the reaction from Samsung on that invade and sort of caught them out, punishing them to pick up first blood.
And by no means was this one-on draft. It was a good draft. You're giving up Xayah Rakan doesn't feel good as Samsung, but they have a comp they showed they can play with the same tools like CC and Initiation. It was about the execution from WE and Ambition, unfortunately being a bystander again after being pivotal on the Sejuani. He's off Sejuani duty that he was on solely in the quarterfinals, and he has not found action wherever he's gone.
And Team WE has also made some really good bets. The 5-man re-invade onto the blind side of their jungle to start the game to get first blood onto Ambition. On top of that, xiye's roam top at just the right time to catch CuVee and start that snowball. And now, with the Baron, just setting up that perfect 1-3-1 and taking down all the turrets.
It feels so bad to be 1-3-1 by Shen and Kassadin with a pushing advantage. Mid lane also so low. Waiting for that last final moment.
All right, body slam and barrel has been used by Condi. Cataclysm comes out. Featherstorm will buy some time for Mystic if he needs it. Doesn't just yet. Ambition's the target. Finally the feathers fly, and Mystic runs for his life. The blades and the quills get a second of the fight. The base is broken open, and before 25 minutes, Team WE are pushing for the Nexus.
This is at least 2 inhibitors, but they got a chance to go for a game. They still got 20 seconds on Ambition and 30 on CuVee.
There's not enough in the tank for Samsung to defend. 5-on-3. Crown has to pull off a miracle as Ruler's trying his best to wave clear. Baron empowered cannon minion. They're doing work on the tower. And WE, they're not biting off more than they can chew.
Yeah, no second minion wave pushing in, only the cannon, as you can see. Minion wave too far, so that will extend the game. Samsung made the sort of move where if you're equal in gold, maybe it works, but from behind only hastens their demise. Great teleport ward there for CuVee. A Fed AP cannon, and maybe this is a 1-team fight, but there's no Fed members on Samsung.
I do say the team fight is also desynced. Ambition is dead before the Kennen gets in there, and he only does about 40% of Mystic's health before he lifesteals up with the Warlord's proc. So Samsung has been out of sync for much of this game. And even though they were so locked in against Longzhu in that 3-0, this is looking more like the potentially shaky Samsung that we saw from group stage, at least in this one game.
So important to see how Samsung bounce back from this game. Of course, Team WE, they had side selection, they elected blue. Picks and bans played out, then the game played out, some great decision making as we've discussed. And now we see if WE can keep that up all series long. They're gonna push this wave down bottom and top. Teleport is up for xiye, teleport is up for 957. No Stand United yet, but it will be fairly soon. And with all the work that xiye had done bottom lane, it's just going to be a couple of autos left on this inhibitor turret.
Yeah. Every single 1v1 or 2v2 skirmish, Samsung are exposed. It's not quite falling, but cresting on 3 downed inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, still no teleport on CuVee, but he does have flash, and he's just isolated against this level 17 Kassadin, by the way. A 4-level advantage on the split pushing Ken.
Oh boy, that is ridiculous. And of course, because Crown showed top, Team WE used that momentary 4v3 and instantly push into the base. There's a body slam, flash. They get the kill before the Radiance can even come down. CuVee's doing what little he can of that slicing maelstrom, but he's the man that gets cut down. Ambition picks up the first and only kill of the game in favor of Samsung before being taken down himself. And xiye's hourglass prevents any further casualties. A 14-1 kill score. Team WE crushed Samsung in game 1.
And what a way to open up the series for Team WE in front of the home crowd, trying to bounce back for the LPL after that crushing defeat they had yesterday at the hands of SKT. It's a long series, and we know both these teams are incredibly versatile, especially Samsung for their ability to adapt, but that's a hell of a statement in game 1.
Yeah, it's all about sample size, Jat. You look at that sample size of quarterfinals, you come in with a set prediction. Surely Samsung will take it comfortably, but it's been a long road for Team WE all the way from the play-ins to now. They have changed their tone a couple of times. They have changed their style, like the Caitlyn and Rumble showed us. This was them playing proactive on the sort of comp that you thought had to weather an early storm. Seems like the forecast was off. They controlled the early game, and for the side of Samsung, they just watched a team execute by far better than they could on the day.
And so much credit to Team WE for this victory. You know, executing on the draft, playing well. I think the term that you used, Jat, was some good gambles or some good calls in terms of that blind invade and the roams from xiye. Now Samsung have to do all of the repair work. How do they bounce back from a defeat where you have been so outclassed?
Yeah, Team WE smashed them, and they did it with the Kassadin and even the Xayah, which wasn't as prioritized, at least in the group stage. So maybe a slightly different look than what Samsung was expecting. Samsung adapted across weeks. Now they have about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Good luck. We'll see what they do and how they bounce back. But to get the thoughts on how game 1 played out, let's head to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. 15 minutes is basically as long as game 1 took. A near perfect game out of WE. They came to play today, boys. We had some questions around preparation for both of these teams. The expectation is that Samsung Galaxy would come in with a plan, and whether or not WE would be able to match up against it. Let's set the table with picks and bans.
I mean, Samsung definitely had a plan, but I think the first pick, Rakan, in some way probably surprised them. A lot of teams will first pick Xayah. You get Rakan, Tristana on your side, and Samsung's like, perfect, yes. Rakan for CoreJJ, it's awesome. Best AD carry as well for Ruler. But the Rakan first pick also meant that Samsung didn't actually want Xayah. They wanted Tristana. That was the entire plan. And then you give Xayah Rakan?
Yeah, and it felt right from there. It even just got worse. Every single question that WE posed to Samsung in this draft phase was met with a similar answer of fumbling. Well, we don't know. What do we have to answer any of this? You get Xayah and Rakan, and then the Shen added on top of it, which just bolsters up a bottom lane. That was one of the most feared combinations of all champions in the entire game coming to Worlds.
I mean, they might have had a plan, but it kind of sucked, right? Like,
okay, yeah.
If that was the plan, it sucked.
I mean, you have to look at the 5th pick here as well. It's like, oh, they're not even going to blind pick their top laner. They're saving it for the counter pick. Okay, they got a plan. It's coming. It's coming. Kennen?
Hit me with the 05
I mean,
AP
it
Kennen.
doesn't really make sense to me because Kennen, to me, I don't even feel is that dominant into the Shen. It's especially when you're against a Gragas, it's actually pretty hard to be pushed up and playing aggressively. And then when you're talking about you want this amazing Kennen flank who's going to get in there and smash these immobile carries, except they have a Kassadin and they have a Xayah who can easily use their ultimates to avoid your ultimates. So, you know, even if it was at a better place, it feels like it's very hard to actually execute with this pick. So when the last pick that everything is building up towards fails that hard, it feels really tough to win a game.
Yeah, even the Taric pick, right? That's something you talk about execution. That's something that takes by itself a high level of execution to be able to pull off effectively in team fights and supporting cast, yet into something like Rakan, which is lightning quick. You don't have time for their Cosmic Radiance to fall down. You know, Gragas is good against it as well. There's so much disruption that you're already picking that into.
And that's why when we look at the completed drafts, we were like, okay, WE's side, they have a super strong bot lane for the team with Mystic, who wants to have a super strong bot lane. That was absolutely perfect.
Ding, ding.
There we go. That's like, check, you got
That's
that
one.
957 on top side, loves to play Shen and be able to support the bottom side. All he had to do was not die on the top side, and of course he managed to stay alive.
Check.
That was 2 of them right there. And then they love to have a mid laner who can roam as well, and then apply pressure to the side
A
lanes.
lot of checks.
Wait, that's a Kassadin right there?
That's another check. You know one other thing that we threw on that list? Ambition. And which form of ambition would show up today? Well, guess what? Early action in the game within the first minute, ambition is the one to go down of all players.
Yeah, this was a little bit strange to me because CuVee is up on the top side. They make a 4-man invade. Definitely not expecting, I think, Shen to be there in the full 5-man squad. But we had seen lane swap wards go down. They had the deep wards on the top side, so they felt that something was coming from Samsung. They anticipated, and they get a big advantage, which shut down Ambition even harder in the early game. But so much of the draft really just, I think, was very, very intelligent from WE, and it felt like Samsung didn't have the answers. Because even when you're looking at a Kassadin team and you have a Tristana into a Kassadin, normally you're like, well, this makes a lot of sense. You're going to knock down the bottom turret, then you're going to go siege on the Kassadin.
Right, no wave clear.
Wave clear, great. But Xayah Rakan is such a powerful bot lane, it's so hard to actually win that lane and take the turret. And even if they were losing, to have a Shen to back them up also, which makes it even more impossible to actually push up and take that turret. So how do you get the Tristana and the Taric out of lane in a timely manner to then pressure this Kassadin and lock down the Kassadin before he can get to a side lane and succeed? Because that never happened.
I mean, you add that to the fact that, you know, in the pregame segment, we didn't talk too much about xiye specifically, right? We talk about Mystic and then the supporting cast, but here we have Mystic xiye showing up big on that Kassadin pick. This replay brought to you by Acer Predator.
Yeah, he gets that counter pick early on in the draft phase, and he utilizes it so well. Crown was a complete non-factor on this Taliyah, not able to exert any sort of pressure, and xiye basically took over.
Yeah, I think there was only one lane Crown could have went to, that was top side. But then a Kassadin with TP can often follow as well. So it was really hard game to play Taliyah as well. Be like, where am I going to go? Bot lane? Bot lane, you're pretty doomed at least if you go down there as this Taliyah. So to me, it just felt like it was so hard to execute the draft from Samsung against a winning bot side with a Shen, and then this Kassadin who just free farmed mid.
Again, you would have to do something super early in a Taliyah versus Kassadin matchup, you know, with a Jarvan visiting. But Ambition got really screwed at the level 1, and he got set behind himself. So
and he had the one gank. He did go mid once, got a flash, not enough, sadly, because then Kassadin hit level 6, and then he can actually stay alive. And in general, there's good scouting, because that level 1 we saw earlier, Samsung did like to go in and ward red buff level 1 in the Longshow series. I think they looked at that and said, okay, if they do it again, we can actually try and punish.
I think it's very intelligent, and also, you know, to talk about adaptation, the fact that WE is the ones banning away the Galio and the Lulu, you know, they're saying, we don't actually need to go to this COGS type style. We're very happy to play Xayah. Xayah has been under-prioritized in a lot of these other series. People are not really up on it. You know, when you think about the semifinal yesterday, there's Xayah nowhere, right? Xayah Rakan was even available in one of the games and was not really picked up. So it's kind of interesting to see how successful it can be when you see someone is this good at it.
Well, let's continue to talk about adaptation then, right? Because the series isn't over after game 1. As dominant as it was at a Team WE, Samsung does have their opportunity to respond. They have elected to go to blue side. We saw yesterday, blue side being, you know, mostly dominant throughout the series. What would we like to see out of Samsung Galaxy in terms of adaptation, moving from game 1 to game 2 to maybe take a victory here and equalize?
I mean, first of all, I want to see more adaptability when you start seeing the bans. Because as Azazel just highlighted right there, when you see Galio, Janna, Lulu bans, most teams are not picking Kog'Maw there and being like, yeah, that's exactly what we want to play, because all the protection is gone. And they banned it anyway with their last ban. I think you can do the same, though, on blue side now and say, okay, we don't want to risk. There is this protect comp for Mystic. And then if Xayah Rakan are open, I think you grab the Rakan yourself for CoreJJ, because I think these high aggressive supports that can engage are really good against a fairly slow team like Samsung.
Yeah, and I have to also give a lot of props to WE because we're talking so much about draft phase, but they really showed why you can't give these champions over, right? The execution was definitely there from all members of the team.
And they deserve the credit for manipulating the draft to actually get that for themselves, right? Not only did Samsung have some mistakes in draft, but I think this is a triumphant draft, and they executed so well. And this is the kind of form that can be a bit intimidating, can shake you going into a second game when you talk about mental fortitude in these best of fives. If you're coming in super confident as Samsung and you get slammed in game number 1, it can make you doubt some of your preparation sometimes.
I know you mentioned like how they manipulate the draft to get these picks here, but I really felt like Samsung in many ways were just gifting them the best champions available in the situation. Like the second ban phase, they banned Jace and Cho'Gath instead of a Shen. I'm like, I'm not going to credit the WE coach for getting that Shen pick. I'm going to say, Samsung, that was you again not adapting in the draft.
To that end, though, you said it right at the top of the segment that, that Samsung Galaxy had to believe to some degree that, the Tristana, they think that's the best AD carry, right? And so much of Game 1s do determine what the meta will be for that best of 5 as a whole, and perhaps we'll see priority shift towards that Rakan and away from the Tristana as they valued it before.
We should still see Tristana, though.
You have to feel like Samsung thought that CuVee was going to be able to smash top lane into a tank, right? So you ban out Jace, you ban out perhaps the most resilient tank in the Cho'Gath, and you say, all right, he's going to smash top lane. That's going to be how we win. And it didn't work out like that whatsoever.
All right, well, Team WE open up the series with a win for the home crowd. See if Samsung can bounce back as the series continues after the break.
Condi runs for his life. Now it's just burning. But somebody here forced to be used. First blood picked up by Mystic. Rift walks up for xiye. Slicing Melts will buy some time. It's 1,000 hit points to burn through. CuVee's going to try to turn it off. They're hitting away on xiye. xiye clears out the wave. Body slam used to catch up Ambition. Flag and drag gonna get into safety. Blasco buys some time, but look at 957. Flashes over the wall and confidently gets another. Cataclysm comes out. Battlestorm will buy some time for Mystic if he needs it. Doesn't just yet. Ambition's the target. Finding the feathers fly, and Mystic runs for his life. Ambition picks up the first and only kill of the game in favor of Samsung before being taken down himself. And xiye's hourglass prevents any further casualties. A 14-1 kill score. Team WE crush Samsung in game 1.
Untamed power. Limitless skill. Only one remains. Summon your strength.